Day 19. Getting into it. We have finished Genesis. It's all done. Hopefully you've learned a lot and a little bit about the family tree and why it's important. And we are now getting into Job. So why is Job next? Isn't Exodus next? Well, part of the reason is as they look at what is in Job's life and the things that are going around that time, they believe that the time period is around the same time as the Genesis time period. Not exactly sure when, but that's why we go to Job next. So just in case you were asking. Okay, Job was a pretty rich person. He had tons of cattle and he had a great family and lots of servants. So that's why we think he was a pretty rich person. And let's see what he had: 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 teams of oxen, and 500 female donkeys. He had sons and daughters and a wife and lots of servants. So let's get into the story of Job, which many people know the story, but you've read it, so which is great. Verse 1, there once was a man named Job who lived in the land of Uz. He was blameless, a man of complete integrity. He feared God and stayed away from evil. Okay, so here's the thing. In the land of Uz, so there's already land that has names at this point, so we know it's not at the very beginning of Genesis. And he has all these teams of animals that he owns, and he also has servants. So we know it's not the beginning of Genesis, and based on the other things in the story of Job, it's not much further past Genesis either. Okay, one day, this is verse 6, one day the members of the heavenly court came to present themselves before the Lord. Stop, back up. What? The members of the heavenly court came to present themselves before the Lord, and the accuser, Satan, came with them. So Satan's not on the heavenly court. Heavenly court, what is that? Holy Spirit and Jesus? Is it the angels? We don't think it's the 24 elders in the book of Revelation because we think those people, many of them might be the people like the 12 tribes or maybe the disciples. We're not really sure who the heavenly court is. It couldn't be anybody, might be somebody we don't even know. So anyway, there's this heavenly court that present themselves before the Lord, and the accuser Satan came with them. Where have you come from? The Lord asked Satan. And Satan answered the Lord, I have been patrolling the earth, watching everything that's going on. So Satan isn't everywhere. He has to patrol the earth to watch what's going on. So here's the thing. I don't even have this highlighted in here. I want to kind of read through this a little bit. Then the Lord asked Satan, have you noticed my servant Job? He is the finest man in all the earth. He is blameless, a man of complete integrity. He fears God and stays away from evil. Then listen to verse 9 of what Satan says. Satan replied to the Lord, yes, but Job has good reason to fear God. You have always put a wall of protection around him and his home and his property. You have made him prosper in everything he does. Look how rich he is. But, verse 11, this is the key point. But reach out and take away everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face. Because Satan doesn't know what he's talking about. But he is a shrewd being and a deceitful being, and I'll read why I say that here in just a minute. Of course, you already got that from Adam and Eve. Then in verse 12, all right, you may test him. So Satan has to get permission to test Job or anybody. Satan he's not allowed to do whatever he wants. He has to get permission. So that is a cool thing to read. And obviously God allows Satan to do this throughout history and to do things, but God uses it for his own good. He does mighty things through bad things. But not all bad things are caused by Satan. Not all bad things are caused by somebody on purpose. Sometimes that's just life. But wanted to point that out, that Satan has to get permission to do this to Job. Okay, So what did he do? He killed all the animals, killed all the farmhands. Fire came down from heaven, burned up the sheep and all the shepherds. Then bands of Chaldeans, raiders came in and stole the camels, killed the servants. And then finally the sons and daughters were feasting in their brother's home, and a wind came in, tornado, whatever, and destroys the house and kills the kids. All the children are dead. Verse 20. Job stands up, tears his robe in grief, shaves his head, falls to the ground, and he curses God. No, he doesn't curse God. He worships. So here's a man who has everything and loses it in a moment, in less than a day, and he worships God. That shows his integrity. That shows where his faith lies. One could only hope to be as strong as that. And all of this, Job did not sin by blaming God. Okay, let's move on. So, chapter 2, how does it start? One day, the members of the heavenly court again came to present themselves before the Lord. And the accuser, Satan, came with them. Where have you come from? The Lord asked Satan. Satan answered the Lord, I've been patrolling the earth, watching everything that's going on. Then the Lord asked Satan, have you noticed my servant Job? Again. So God knows what's going on, and he's just kind of rubbing it in Satan's face. Have you noticed Job? Come on. He made it. He did a good job. Finest man in all the earth. He's blameless, man of complete integrity. He fears God and stays away from evil, and he has maintained his integrity, even though you urged me to harm him without cause. Even though you, Satan, urged me to harm him. Not that God harmed him, but Satan wanted God to do it. God told Satan, go ahead. We'll see how strong he really is. Aren't you glad that God's on your side? We're getting into the part where on the same thing that happened before. Satan replied to the Lord, skin for skin. Okay, so he totally ignores what he said in the previous chapter. He says, reach out and take away everything he has, and he'll surely curse you to your face. Oh, he didn't do that. Okay, well then, skin for skin. A man will give up everything he has to save his life, but reach out and take away his health, and he'll surely curse you to your face. Okay, so Satan's not ever going to give up. You can't win that argument with Satan, because Satan said, nope, don't believe you. This is going to happen. Nope, this is going to happen. Nope, he isn't going to believe that 2 + 2 is 4, because he doesn't want to. Not that he knows that it's wrong, he's just not going to believe it. He's choosing to be rebellious. Verse 9, and here's the killer of all of this. His wife said to him, are you still trying to maintain your integrity? Curse God and die. Wow. Thank you, wife. That's just crazy. And then Job says something very, very important. Should we accept only good things from the land of God and never bad? So in all this, Job said nothing wrong. Okay, I've heard many people say, well, certainly God's not going to hurt us. Certainly God's not going to do anything. God sent his people into Egypt to be slaves for 400 years. So the Amorites sin, and the Canaanites and all the people of the land, all that sin could run its course. And what's he going to do? He's going to bring those people back and annihilate those people. Don't tell me that God doesn't do bad things, okay? He's not going to hurt me. Well, yeah, he is. Don't be a dope, okay? That's what fearing God means. Verse 13. So his buddies come and visit him, and they sit on the ground with him for 7 days and nights. No one said a word to Job, for they saw that his suffering was too great for words. Okay, so he's got boils all over him, head to toe, and he's in severe pain. He's lost everything. And it's so bad that his friends can't even speak for 7 days. Think about that for a second. This has to be horrible. I mean, somebody loses a child, think how, or brother or sister or mom or dad or a dear friend, and you can tell they look horrible and you don't know what to say. 7 days pass. What an incredible thing. At last, Job spoke. So Job's the first one to speak, and he cursed the day of his birth. He didn't curse God. Think about when you're sick and when bad things happen. We do tend to say things to God and say, why? Why are you doing this to me? Job is a great book for answering the question of why and to put your own life in perspective. Then, side note here, verse 8, let those who are experts at cursing, whose cursing could rouse Leviathan, curse that day. So there you go. Your cursing could be so bad that it would rouse the very beast of the sea, of the ocean, Leviathan. Okay, and then it goes on, and if you want to read more about Leviathan, go to chapter 41 and read about Leviathan. Verse 13, he goes on, had I died at birth, I would now be at peace. I would be asleep and at rest. So here's a little bit about what it's like when you're dead back then. And for in death the wicked cause no trouble. The weary are at rest, even captives are at ease. Rich and poor both are there. Slave is free from his master. Resting time. Death is a time of resting. Of course, now, because of Christ, we go straight to heaven. He bridged that chasm. Verse 25, what I always feared has happened to me. What I dreaded has come true. Oh, how often when we are miserable do we say, oh my gosh, woe is me. And it's a horrible thing. And I want to say something. It is okay to feel bad when bad things happen. That is common sense. Okay? I don't know what kind of person you are, but don't go to somebody who's suffering and point out all the things they're doing wrong. Go and suffer with them. Paul says to suffer with the people. Suffer with them. Go be a part of what's happening. Feel their pain. That's what people need. They need to have somebody come alongside them. We get into verse 16 of chapter 4. And here's Eliphaz. Eliphaz is the first response to Job. And wow, 3 great friends. And here's the key part about Eliphaz. He talks about a spirit that has come to him in a vision. And verse 16, it says, the spirit stopped, but I couldn't see its shape. There was a form before my eyes. In the silence, I heard a voice say, can a mortal be innocent before God? Can anyone be pure before the Creator? Well, it's got to be Satan. Don't know if it's Satan, but it's got to be Satan. That's how I look at that. And the thing is, that same line of thinking, you can go back to Adam and Eve when he was tempting her with the fruit. Surely you're not going to die. Well, if you take away everything he has, he's going to curse you. Oh, he didn't do that. Oh, well, if we take away his health, then he'll curse you. Oh, you're going to take away his health. Oh, well, then we'll do something else. This has got to be Satan himself being allowed to do this and appear to Eliphaz just to put more salt on the wound of Job. And that's the end of the chapter 4, and we are going to keep reading into Job. And Job is kind of a difficult book to understand, but I think if we read this as a conversation that God's having with us, we won't have any problems. So I'll see you tomorrow.